say thank you, first of all, for joining and for following up from last week, Thursday. We had the first session on Thursday where I introduced us to the kind of resume that is expected for MBA candidates, as well as the whole thought process and how you can apply it for job applications as well. That was on Thursday. And Thursday, we also started to edit Guten's resume. And while we were editing it, I was explaining a couple of principles and things that you need to do when you take a look at your resume. I also explained why it's important that at a time like this, where it seems like everyone is panicky, for some people, there's still a lot of work to be done, but it is undeniable that we now have sufficient time compared to what we used to have before. For those who say, oh, I'm a lot more busy right now, just remember that you do not have to transit to and fro from work. And if you live in Lagos, that is an enormous amount of time that is usually discounted when you talk about your working hours. So if you're busy right now, it means you have something to do, or it could mean that you have a long way or you still have a lot to do with managing your time. But that said, that's not the essence of this. That's not the essence of this webinar. I know that Thursday we covered other things with respect to the lessons that you need to incorporate when editing your education. On Saturday, we moved fully into the work section of your resume. I explained earlier on that there are usually three broad categories in your resume. First of all, you have the education section. It should come first. It is the very first thing that interviewers, recruiters, admission committees look for first. And if you don't trust me, call any admission committee and ask them. If they tell you, you know what, it depends on you, ask them what do they prefer. So many resumes start with education, such that if you start your own resume with your work sections, what you're doing is you're basically forcing that person to scroll down to the bottom of where you've hidden your education section. And they would have to start from there and move upward and move backwards. So like I said, it's all about design. Make the life of the person reviewing your CV easy. On Saturday, we covered all the areas that had to do with work section. And I explained a lot of things where I also showed Guten how to re-edit many of our bullet points. I emphasized how it is important that you focus on the achievements and not the roles that you add at your company. So today we'll be covering the last section, which is interest, or the section that people call other skills. Before that, if anyone has questions as regards the previous two webinar series, please ask your question now and let's cover that.
Hi, this is Femi.
Hi, Femi.
Yeah.
Good evening or good day, wherever you're speaking from.
This is Femi speaking from Chevron.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't in the other two webinars, so I was able to cover that because I know you already pointed out that we should focus on achievements from the last webinar, and I don't know if it's possible for you to just hold a catch-up session for people like us that were new around in the last webinar, so that we can be
okay. As much as possible, I'll do my best to recap what we talked about in the previous two webinars. This webinar series is recorded and would be available at a later date. So you could just chill for that to be opened.
Okay.
It would be available, but at a cost actually, at a later date. We recommend that people try to attend our webinars live because once it's recorded, then it comes at a cost to get a replay of it. But we're working on making that available. It's not going to be expensive at all. It's just it's just a fee to allow us expand operations, do more recordings, pay for things we should pay for to cover up with this. But yes, it would be available just at a later date. But I'll do my best to cover all those other things that you may have missed, maybe not in details, but it should guide you to start with your resume editing.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure. Any other question? Okay. In the absence of any other question, I would just like to encourage you guys. I know I mentioned something that is very important, and I'll repeat it again. Do not outsource the editing of your resume. It is the worst idea ever. And I'll explain why. And I'm sure I've explained why before, but I'll explain again. When you send your resume to a resume editing service to edit your resume, they're going to do one of two things. The very first one is the worst thing anyone can do to you, which is just edit your resume for grammatical errors, ask you to switch from rules writing into achievement writing bullets, and send it back to you to edit and return back to him. That is the worst kind of editing anyone can do for you. And this is why. When you write your resume, no one is able to dig their hands into your brain and bring out your whole life experience. When you write your resume, you prioritize what goes into it. Even if you have a 3-page CV, it still does not capture everything you've done in life. It still does not cover up for all the things that you think are not important. But to your audience, to the people who finally have to use your resume, it is crucial. I've seen people who have taken out the fact that they played table tennis and represented their secondary school out of their personal section in their resume. I know in the last webinar, in the first webinar series, in the first episode, someone was asking a question if she could put the fact that she contested for Miss something. She did a beauty pageant competition. Those are things that you would think are not relevant, but to business schools, they are amazing. I can tell you today that if you contested for Miss Nigeria or Mr. Nigeria or Miss Africa or Miss World, you would definitely get an interview, provided other areas are average. I'm not even expecting other areas to be good. Every interviewer would want to speak to you. It's just that down here in Nigeria, we have the wrong kind of mentality with respect to what is called experience, that we downplay our social life and our personal life out of all these things. So if you send your resume to a resume editing service and it does not know, I'm sure it doesn't know what you were doing in GS2 or GS3 or how you represented your school in soccer competition in the university, he or she does not know that. And there's no way they would be able to dig all those things out of your brain. So if what you put in your resume is 50% of your experience, no matter what the editor does to it, it can only be 100% or 50%. And trust me, it can never be 100% because some of these people don't know what they are doing. But in any case, you are left to doing that yourself. So even if you do not know too much about resume editing, but you're capable of putting in 90% of your experience on paper, succinct, briefly, even if your editing capacity can only examine and trim it down to 50%, like let's say you have an editing capacity of 50%, you're going to, at the end of the day, have 50% of 90%, or let me say 60% of 90%. That's definitely greater than the overall 50% you had from the previous resume. I hope I'm not just throwing numbers out there and you can follow my train of thoughts. The second thing a resume editing service can do is to call you on the phone and ask you why you've included the bullets you've included. That's way better. But the problem with that is you usually have just 1 hour to do that, or 2 hours. There is no way anyone in the world will be able to fully understand what you've done, help you dig out the figures and the timeline within 1 hour. So I'm telling you that you need to do this yourself. And resume editing takes a long period of time. As I was explaining in the last webinar, I'm still in the process of editing my resume. And trust me, my former resume, which was what I used to apply to business school with great success, a story that I'll tell one day, but just believe me that I've applied to business school with great success. Even when I look at that resume that I used, I'm looking at what I've edited right now, and I'm wondering maybe I would have stood a chance at Harvard. Maybe not. Yes, I would have stood a chance at Harvard because it is so clear, so succinct, captures what I've done, the most important things that I've done. And you would see as we edit Guten's resume that sometimes it's just about you being able to sit down and do these things yourself, and it takes time. That said, before we go into just going through Guten's resume that you have in front of you, I would mention or just quickly list out 13 general resume editing rules. Do not violate this rule. Get a piece of paper and write it down. I'll take it slowly so you can have time to write it down. 1, never put anything in parentheses or brackets except acronyms and abbreviations. Do not put anything in brackets except acronyms and abbreviations. The reason is it's ugly. 2, when you get to a bracket, your eye skips that section of it. And trust me, resume editors, resume recruiters or resume reviewers. And when I say resume reviewers, no, I'm talking to MBA committees in case of MBA application, or job on recruiters in the case of looking for a job. They barely have up to 5 minutes. In some cases, they barely have up to 1 minute to review your resume. So don't think that once it's in brackets, they will come back to try and understand it. Number 2, no bolds, no italics, no underline style in your resume. It only makes it very hard for us to read your resume. Don't try to emphasize a part of your bullet point by making it bold. Don't. The only thing that should be in bold is your heading, which includes your role and your company name. If you must put anything in italics, it has to be, say you wrote a paper and you published that paper, the title of that paper should be in italics. Your name in that citation should be bold. Any other thing should please be in the simple text as much as possible. Use one font all through. Use one font all through. It's a waste of space if you have to make the heading 11 points. I know this template says 11 points for heading and all, but trust me, you want to use all. In fact, if you must use 2, just 2. Font size. Use one font rather. Don't use numerous font styles. That's what I mean. The second thing is your font size. Maximum 2 font size, 11 and 10. Everything in your resume should actually be in font size 10. And go with Roman and New Times New Roman. Don't try any fancy font style. Number 4, only titles in books and journals and names in certain situations should be utilized. Names of our words, in fact, don't put that in italics. Names of clients, names that everyone knows, or names of your publication should be in italics. Any other thing should be in the normal way. So I'm looking at this now, and this actually should not be in italics. I know people will argue with this, right? I know people will argue with this, but trust me, it doesn't change anything in your resume, and it makes it as simple as much as possible. Your sales, okay, we'll leave this way. But if you need your resume to be top notch, you would listen to that part. 5, which transcends all formats. No subjective words. I do not want to see in your bullet point that you are working for the largest company in Africa. Who says it is the largest company? For all we know, it may be the largest to you and not the largest to whoever it is that matters. So when you're trying to describe your company, mention the cap size, the revenue, the rankings on whatever ranking, maybe the top 10 companies by Forbes list. That's how you should go. 6, no ambiguous words. I do not want to, recruiters don't have to, they do not want to try to think what you mean by saying supported. I mean, for all we know, you could support the team by buying them food or lunch every time they come together to think about the project. You could support the team emotionally. You could support the team with money. We want to know exactly what you did, so be specific. 7, no filler words. You're not writing an essay. You're not writing a paragraph or a grammatically correct sentence. Filler words like and, the, h, of, and so on and so forth. All those prepositions and conjunctions, cut them down to the barest minimum. 8, no section on leadership. I've seen resumes that says leadership section. No, it is your experience. Please do not do that. Keep it simple as much as possible. 10, only list published materials from known journals. This is especially important for people who are applying to business school. If you say you published papers or applying for a PhD, and they cannot find the published papers in journals that you say it is located in, they begin to doubt your integrity straight up. 11, I've said that, education at the top. 12, no summary at the top. Profile objectives, profile summary, my aim and career, my goal in life. No, those kind of things should be in your cover letter. Don't waste 5 lines of precious space in your resume to do that. That's why many people's resumes end up becoming a 2-3 page or a textbook at the end of the day for other people to open, sit down, forget their schedule for the day, and just read it because they have nothing else to do. Number 13, no industry jargons, abbreviations, or acronyms. The point is your recruiter is not an engineer. Your recruiter is not a fashion designer. So if you're using fashion designer term, or yours is your case. So yeah, with those points, I need you to think carefully about it. People say format does not matter. Format matters. Choose your format appropriately. Yes, we can relax the rules on italics and font size, but you would see that many resumes stick with one font style. So yeah, but again, I said it depends on your audience, right? So if your audience wants to see that, then that rule suffices. How do you know what your audience wants? If you're applying to business schools, start to speak with students in those schools and have them review your resume or send them their resume so that so that the admission committee reading your resume can see you've laid the groundwork. Once they see a resume style that they understand, they would know and automatically favor your resume. Maybe not so much because they're going to be as objective as much as possible. If other areas of your application is weak, then sorry for you. But the point is, once they see a resume they recognize, they know you've done the groundwork. They know you've spoken to existing students. They know that you are ready for business school. They know you value networking. And every business school are looking for people who can do that well. So with that, Guten, do I have you? Yeah, you can. Someone's asking a question. You advise that the bullet should not exceed 3 lines, right? Yes, do not make it exceed 3 lines. I'd rather have you put 2 bullet points than 1 bullet points with 3 lines. If it exceeds 2 lines, I mean, there are cases where it would be 3 lines, but trust me, it just means you haven't been able to succinctly explain what you've done. If it's going to 4 lines, you obviously don't know what you did at all. And that's how many recruiters think. When they see a 4-line bullet point, they know you haven't thought well about what you did. You haven't synthesized and captured the main thing that you've done. Where should publication go? Education, even when the article was finally published in 2019. Yes, so there should be a separate section. If you have a publication, right, after education experience, you can have publication. Publication, it's also acceptable. Certifications if you have more than one. If not, they can go under personal. Skills, interest, I really do not know why people split this, but we'll come to that later. So publications, your publication, if it is less than one, let it go under education. If it is less than two, if it is more than two, you can create a separate section for it. Again, it's a matter of style, right? If you speak to somebody, but I'll generally advise if it is one, just put it under your education. If it is two and above, create a separate section for it after experience. Now, there's a school of thought as regards whether to have volunteering experience separate from work experience. Yes, it is allowed. It's permitted. Yes, it's permitted. Just look for the kind of formats that the school. Again, I'm going back to my previous advice of speaking to existing students. If an existing student's format contains additional experience or other experiences, by all means do that. If it does not, then put it under your experience. All experience is experience. But then again, it all comes down to what the end user wants. If the end user says, you know what, I need to see a separate section for volunteering experience, by all means do. Again, you can be on the safer side. Some of all these things that I'm mentioning to you, again, all depends. I think at the end of the day, it is all about design and what your audience wants. It's not how beautiful your resume looks to you. It is just how cool and easy it is for your recruiter or resume reviewer. Okay, so do I have good 10 online? You can come online now, please. So let's go through this.
Hello.
Yeah. So welcome. I've seen you've done a lot of work with respect to what we discussed with your bullet point. I've decided to put it side by side again for other people to see the changes that your resume has undergone. You used to have 2 pages, and now you have everything fitted into 1 page. Now, I want to ask a question quickly. Do you feel like we caught anything out of it? Anything important out of your former resume?
No, I would not say anything important. I feel like everything is more structured. Like it looks more concise and very interesting, you know. I feel like there are a lot of things that I didn't get to portray in the previous one. But with the understanding gone from the previous webinar, I'm now able to even structure them and make a very beautiful resume. I'm happy with the end product, but man, I must say it was hard work. But I'm happy with how far I've come.
It's not easy editing your resume, and people think it's an hard work. It's the hard work that you must put into it. Do you think if you had consulted a resume editing service, you would have gotten this kind of outcome? But actually, you're actually consulting me, right? But you might not just be able to pay for the service if I was charging you for it.
Yeah. So I think maybe with a consultant, I may not I've been able to really take the time to really digest it, to now bring out what I'm bringing out. I feel like I would have worked under pressure just to deliver what he wants me to say. But taking this webinar in series, like I feel like I had enough time to think and process, and the contributions made it more interesting for me to, get some vital information. Like Kim contributed to the school undergraduate school population. So those kind of things were really part of the things that helped me. And then again, I'm happy I'm having to have this done for free.
Right. Okay. So again, it's a lot of work that you must put into your resume editing. For those who are listening, I'm sure there'll be more videos to help you understand and edit your resume. But then again, beyond this webinar, it just comes at a price, and that will be communicated. No one is trying to rip you off, but it will definitely come at a price, because it's the opportunity cost, putting time into it and helping you structure all those things. Takes a lot of time and effort. So that said, we'll come back to your education. The number of things I want us to correct, but I don't want us to spend too much time on that without looking into. There's a noise coming from somewhere. Who's that? Please put yourself on mute. Please just check your device. Okay. Well, okay, Taiwo, please, can you mute yourself? Okay. Frank, Taiwo, please mute your. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Guten, are you there with me? Guten?
Yes.
Is Guten? Okay. Okay, great. Yeah. So, yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I just wanted to be sure that you are. So if this runs out, please, we have 10 minutes left. If the time runs out and you get disconnected, log in back. You know the drill. Log in back with the same link. Now, skills. Skills. I'm not a big fan of this, and I'll explain why. Microsoft Office, everybody knows how to use this thing. It's just like stating in your resume that you can speak English. How did you write your resume? Did you use French? Digital marketing, all those things can go under, they can go under interest. I'm not a big fan of skills because it just doesn't say too much about your resume. The other thing again that I noticed is, see, I think you toyed with, this is 11, this is 11, this is 12. Okay, it's 11, okay. Skills, like I said, it just doesn't add too much. It doesn't add value to you. I would rather you have volunteering experience, right? So, yeah, I'd rather switch this to volunteering experience. Again, like I said, you still have to, when you checked your school's resume requirement, did it include a volunteering section?
No.
No, it didn't.
What they had
okay.
was it didn't.
It didn't. Okay.
No. So we just had additional information and everything, skills and volunteer and interest all went on that.
Okay. For those applying to business school, I would need you to have volunteering experience. Yeah, I would need you to have volunteering experience at a different section and just highlight 2 or 3 unique ones that you actually did something with. The reason why I want you to have that section is we are not brought up to have extracurricular activities. We're not brought up to value those kind of experience. So when you're editing your resume again, include that section, maybe just 2 or 3, and have that out of the way. With respect to skills, I'm not a big fan of skills, and I already explained, and it's not because I'm not a big fan of skills. I'm just saying it doesn't say much. It just doesn't say much to you. Certifications, in your former resume, you have certification, Audacity, Young Leaders Initiative. What did you do on that Young Leaders Initiative? Okay, so you have it here. Guten. Don't tell me the network is messing up again. Are you there?
I'm with you. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So we're going back to interest. Interest is personal. Actually, it should be personal, right? Because these are not just interests. These are things you've done. All right. I'm going to take out the skills section. You can impute it under interest. Let me leave it there for a while. Once I'm done editing, volunteering experience, welfare officer, Young Africa Leader Initiative Network. Welfare officer, how many people are members of the network?
Well, of the network or just my department?
The network. You're a welfare officer of the network now.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
How many welfare officers do you have?
Oh, we are about 15. Then when it comes to the rural network, the states I oversee, we're over 200 members.
Yeah, so we'll do that. We'll say again, yearly Young African Network. Italics. I hate to see italics. Okay, so how many 200, Abi? Approximately 200 members, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll include that detail there. No need to say volunteering. Welfare officer. How many years have you been a welfare officer? Okay, while we'll give our time, let me just quickly, this is going to log us out in 5 minutes, just logging back with the same link. I'm losing you there, so are you back? Okay, the personal section is usually, the personal section is usually the most underutilized section of any resume. People just think it's just a place to put in, I love to read, I love to cook, and I love to jog. No, there is a lot you can do with your personal section. In fact, a well-crafted personal section would help you craft your volunteering experience without you needing to have a different volunteering experience section. So I'm going to scratch out what I said about volunteering section. If you have a well-written personal section with the figures and data that would convince anyone, you do not need a separate volunteering section, which is what we're doing right now with personnel. Welfare officer, Young Africa Leadership Initiative, 200 members. That's a volunteering experience. That's another kind of experience. Most people know what Young Africa Leadership Initiative is in the US, or your audience would know. So that is okay, but how long have you played this role as a welfare officer?
I was a member, then I became a leader. So everything in total, it's almost a year and 9 months.
Yeah, okay, so we'll leave it at that. If you had been welfare...
Yeah, and 10 months. This month, 10 months.
So were you welfare officers for 2 years or just 1 year?
Hello?
Were you a welfare officer for 2 years or just 1 year? Okay, so while we wait for that answer, if you did not take a role in an association that you're a part of, you want to tell me what kind of member you are. Don't just say member of this association. Tell me how active you are. Say active member or seasonal volunteer. Use those terms to connote how often you participate in those organizations. Don't just put the name of the organization and expect us to put, or expect recruiters or expect anyone who's reading your resume to attach any importance to it. State how often you do what you do. If you want to put, I love to cook, you want to state it. Do you cook for recreational purposes, that you just like to cook? Or are you a professional cook? How often do you cook? How many people do you cook for? Yes, how many people do you cook for? Do you cook for a restaurant? Do you cook across country? Those data, those information is important as well. So I was asking you, Guten, how many years did you, the question basically is, did you, I'm thinking, my brain is, so how long have you been welfare officer?
Okay, I've been a member of the team.
No, I'm asking about members. I'm asking how long have you been a welfare officer, not the member?
Of the welfare unit. So of January officially, I became like the leader, but I've been a member since June last year. I mean, last 2 years, 2018. So in total,
Okay.
I would say that's 1 year, 10 months.
Okay, all right. I'm focusing on the welfare officer, so let's leave that the way it is. For now, I think it's okay. Over 200 members. I'm going to use over 200 members. So approximately 200 members, right? Health coach, war against chronic disease initiative.
It's more than 200 members.
It's more than 200 members.
Yeah, so I think it's
okay. Yeah, but you don't want to use more than greater than sign, because more than 200 could connote 1,000. So you use approximately the wavy sign and less than, about less than. Okay, let's leave it the way it is. Let's leave it the way it is. Health coach, war against chronic disease initiative. Yeah. I understood your question. You were asking if the cover letter is actually important, because there are reports that many recruiters and employers don't read cover letter. Now, this is how you should think of a cover letter. If you are a lady, you wore a very nice dress for a dinner, and you carried a nylon bag to represent your handbag, how would you look like? Does anyone want to answer that question for me? You look like a madman. Let me know, madwoman. Let me know. Waste time. It would basically make a mess of your red, beautiful dress that you have on. That is the way a poorly written cover letter would look on your resume. Your resume is that fine red dress. For guys, your resume is your good suit, well-tailored suit, well-ironed suit, blazers and everything shining and glittering with your correct wristwatch. And then you now decide to wear one tie that you bought from, let me not mention any market, but that tie just looks horrible. That tie, my friend, is your cover letter. So while your cover letter is not the main reason why you get employed, it can mess up your application process. So you may think that a recruiter will not read your cover letter. It might be on your own case. Maybe something is just striking, especially when your resume raises a lot of questions. If there's a gap in your resume, if they cannot understand why you moved from marketing to engineering, what if it seems like you're jumping from one company to another, if it seems like you're doing something that just doesn't, your resume cannot explain it, that's where your cover letter comes in. So it might just be on your own case. He realizes that, he has enough time and he would just like to see what you've written. If your cover letter looks like that nylon bag instead of a Gucci handbag, I'm sorry, you made a mess of your resume. So do not take the chance. That's what I would say. Any other question?
I still have my question to ask.
Okay. Hold on a second. Yeah, shoot.
Okay. So where does does being a founder or a co-founder or a business owner, does it go under experience, or it has its own column? Where does it fall?
It has experience. It goes under experience, rather. It goes under experience. I'm a founder myself, and if you take a look at my resume, it goes straight on the. This is it, Pod Lobe, founder, team lead, and you see it under my experience.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, so any other question?
Would you be sending the Harvard templates, or we're supposed to look at your resume and understand the way it works? I know somebody asked.
Okay, I'll take the names of those who, if you're registered and you're coming through Lane, then I have your email. So I'll just take the name and I'll share the link with you I can see Kim. I can see Dicey. I can see Femi. I can see Franklin. If you're not on the group, just let me know. I can see Franklin. Again, make it scarce. You know the law of supply and demand, right? The people you're sending it to do not need it. This is not you being wicked, but just make it scarce. In this case, other things be liberal with. Yep. Okay, so I've taken down the name. I'll share this with you, the Harvard resume with you. It's an amazing resume. It's an amazing style. At first, I struggled with it. It didn't look beautiful to my eyes, but oh my goodness, it's sweet. Any other question?
Yeah. Sorry, Sam. So are they to be saved in Word or PDF?
When you're sending it out, PDF.
PDF.
Yes.
Okay.
Because if you send it out in Word document, you could send it to someone else's laptop. Might not have a version you worked with, or it might just mess up the whole layout. So just go PDF.
Yeah. Okay. The reason why I asked that is, if you were doing the same thing to send to a recruiter in Nigeria, some school of thought would say you shouldn't save it in PDF. You should leave it in Word because there's this featuring machine that recruiters use, and if it's in PDF, it doesn't pick some of the action words in it, blah blah blah. So I don't know if that works too for the recruiters in B schools.
B schools don't use except for the very large ones with thousands of applications. Yeah, then there's a case for them using what's they call it, resume review. I've forgotten the name, but you know what I'm talking about. Any recruiter that uses a resume editing service that cannot read PDF, maybe you shouldn't think of working with them. They can't pay attention to detail. They don't value their own recruiting system. Maybe they will never just value you. But the point I'm trying to make here is there are better versions that can read PDF nowadays. The other reason why it's not good to send your resume in Word is, trust me, systems automatically format documents themselves. So what you would think you have as one-page resume may automatically become two-page. In the process of editing or trying to save, someone can type nonsense into your resume and save it and send to somebody else. And the person finally reviewing it might just realize that, you know what, how's this person so careless with their resume that they have FGKH in the middle of nowhere? So to avoid stories that touch, send your resume in PDF. Any good software that reviews resume would be able to pick a PDF version. Maybe in those years, a couple of years back, there were problems, but there are improvements now. They'll pick your PDF and pick your action words. Yep.
Thank you. Gotcha.
My pleasure. Yeah. Any more questions? Okay. In the absence of that, I want you guys, for those who've been around for, okay.
Yeah, sorry to
Femi.
interrupt. Yeah,
No, it's fine.
I need to ask, I can see you use the slide. Oh, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay. I would really like to catch up with the first 2 seminars or webinars I missed, to be honest. And I'm looking forward to you reaching out to me or putting information on the group.
Okay, yeah. We will we're working on that. We're just working on that. You'll get access to even more detail. When are you applying to business school?
So I'm starting my application early January next year, but I want to put things in perspective now. So
January,
yeah.
Why January? Anyway, we'll talk about that in detail. You should be looking at August. Apply first round and don't look to apply second round.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, apply first round. So set up your mind for August.
All right.
Yeah, set up your mind for August. Now you should be thinking about your GRE. and your resume, but it's not as important as trying to get your GRE score.
GRE or GMAT? There's a preference for GMAT.
GRE or GMAT. There's no preference. There's no preference for GMAT. I wrote GRE. A lot of people who got fully funded and got into schools, even Ivy League, wrote GRE. So GRE, I always advise GRE. And there'll be content, there'll be podcasts with respect to that as well as time goes on. We're also working on having a weekly podcast, which would be released next month. Then we'll cover some areas. We're working on content that you can follow and use as time goes on, but that comes up next month. But we're working on that.
All right.
And all the questions you've asked are things that we're covering.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure. Any more question? I will just wait.
None,
okay.
Thank you, Samuel.
Okay, none. Okay, you're welcome.
Thanks, Samuel. Good night.
Okay, Kim, good night. So you guys have a lovely night rest. Do not forget what you learned.
Sam, hello.
Hi, Daise. I hope I pronounced your name right.
Yeah, I think maybe when the others are leaving, if you're available, you can just give me a brief of what you did in the first Zoom session, because I was doing another thing that I couldn't miss. And so I sort of missed one, but I'm here.
Okay, what we'll do, because I have another meeting in 30 minutes I need to prepare for.
No,
what
I just
we would do, you just want to ask questions?
No, I have a specific question on the volunteering and hobbies, because that's what you said you will cover in these sessions.
Okay.
And when you came, you'd already finished that part. If I can just get a brief summary, or if you have a document that you can send me, I'd really appreciate.
Okay. I'll quickly provide the summary for you. First of all, remove what people call, or what is called, how would I explain this? Let me project the resume we worked on. So this is the resume we worked on. Your personal covers 3 major areas, or 4, it could be 4. First of all, it covers your volunteering activities, your extracurricular activities, which could be perhaps you're president or you hold a role in an association. In Guten's case, she was a welfare officer for Young Africa Leaders Initiative, YALI. So instead of creating a separate section, remember we're trying to squeeze your resume into one page, you just put it under your personal, welfare officer, Young Africa Leadership Initiative. If you add that, it's not just enough that you say you're a member of an association. We want to know what you did in that association. That is why your position or role is important. If you're just an ordinary member, we want to know whether you are active or you're seasonal or you're just a volunteer or a bench warmer. This is where you need to be honest with yourself and engage in only activities that truly interest you. So if you're an active member, state it there, active member XYZ organization. It's also good to give us some context, factual context. So don't say the biggest organization in Africa. You can say ranked number 1 by X Forbes list, largest organization by size according to this, or you just state the total number of participants, or the revenue the organization generates, or the market capitalization, depending on what you do. So that's the same that applies all through for associations you get yourself in. You can also include, remember the use of the column is to provide context. In this case, when you move on that health coach and war against chronic disease initiative, what you can see is I've said 3 outreaches, 2 states, 30 members. You provided context that this initiative is not just within 1 state, it is across 3 states, 2 states, and you have 3 outreaches and you have 30 members. Providing that context is important. If you're the general secretary of an organization that had only 10 members, and you compare that to someone who was the general secretary for another organization that had over 200 members, even though they are both general secretary, one is higher than the other by the volume of work and the number of people he or she had to deal with. So that's about your volunteering experience and other organizations that you're a part of that cannot fall or go under your experience. You can move away from that and go into skills and certification. So take, for instance, if you've taken 3 Coursera courses in 1 year, instead of listing all those courses out, really the recruiters don't care about the specificity, especially for business schools, of those courses. You can state, so this is how you phrase it. You say something like taking 3 courses across Coursera, Udacity in 3 years, or taking 10 courses. If it's just one, there's no need to make mention of it. Again, do not try to trivialize all that great things you put into your resume by putting something that just messes the whole thing up. Take the old dressing sense thing again. If you wore the best designer clothes in the world and you wore a fake wristwatch, it messes the whole dressing up. So if you're trying to put things in, put in courses, put in small, ask yourself, does this match up to the other things I've added to my resume? If it doesn't match it up, you're most likely wearing a fake wristwatch, or you're wearing a fake handbag, a nylon bag and an handbag on your red, beautiful dress. Now that's skills. So you can say proficient in skills. Proficient in. There's no need to Microsoft Word. Everyone is expected to know how to use Microsoft Word at PowerPoint. So it's not a standout feature anymore. But if you can code, you can use software. Software or technical tools that other people cannot use, then that's fine. Extracurricular activities and hobbies and follow. Extracurricular activities and hobbies. I don't want to say I love reading, I love jogging, I love running. In fact, how often do you jog? How many miles have you jogged? Are you a professional marathoner, or do you do it for recreation? These are things that you need to take attention to. So instead of just saying jog, say professional amateur jogger, say active racer 3 times a week, which is something we've done. Instead of just saying jogging 3 times a week, there's more context.
Sam, you're breaking.
Instead of saying gardener here, but that is just new to the device. Instead of saying gardener there, you see we have recreational. Someone or whatever that is, just beat yourself. So
Hello?
these are interest. Make sure. Okay, can you still hear me?
Now it's clear.
Okay, a minute. Yeah, can you guys hear me? Okay, you can hear me up.
Yeah.
So that's that about that. I've shown you an example. I'll show you another example of profession of just to give you an idea of what you can include in this. So this is mine. You can see I have hosted 4 podcast shows, over 200 podcast episodes. This is, not many people have this. Mentor Coca-Cola Youth Empowered. You can see that I'm saying, I'm stating the outcome of the mentorship program. In the course of mentoring, 4 got employed, 3 made career switches. I'm a leader for an association. I said the number of people involved in that. Active member in Toastmaster. I don't hold a role there, but I'm an active member. You can see recreational chess and Scrabble player. It provides more context than just saying chess, Scrabble. EA Sport video gamer. Proficient in the tools. I stated the tools that I'm good at. And in my interest, I said Renaissance, city-state governance, country. So all this, I should even add what kind of country music, but this is unique enough for somebody else to say, you know what, if I pick 5 other resumes, this interest will not match that other resume. I hope that answers your question. Yes, like I said, the good thing is many of you are starting with your application very, very early. And it's a beautiful thing. there'll still be more resume editing that you would have access to. There'll be videos where we'll pick someone entirely different resume and would edit it and you can have access to it. So don't bother about having context or having different ways to edit it. And you'll find that as time goes on. But just take what you've done and apply that. So on that note, I say good night, everyone. Have a lovely night rest.
Thank you.
Same good night.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much, Sam.
You're welcome.